going on, Only Play with Fans? We are back. It is championship weekend. We are here. We have arrived. And man, oh man, it is me versus Shashowt in the finals. 1 versus 2. Brother versus brother. There's so many stats that I'm going to throw at you guys about the inception of this league and how me and Shashowt have basically dominated this league. And now it's coming full circle. We're both playing in the championship.
Have I played you in the championships before?
Dude, I don't think so. I was thinking about that as well. I need to go back maybe and check the ESPN records.
Yeah, I don't think we have, actually.
I can't remember a time you and I played in the finals. I just cannot.
Yeah, I don't remember doing that, actually. Yeah, you're right.
Dude, it's crazy. It's a wild one. Before we get into the excitement of that league, obviously last week was intense. We had a episode where we constructed our lineups and what we thought was the best way to construct those lineups. Unfortunately for me, my other league, I took the L. Quick things that I think I learned is, sometimes start your studs work. Sometimes start your studs doesn't work. The reason I lost is because I benched Saquon Barkley and I benched my first round player playing against Philly run defense. We had talked about it. I had 3 or 4 running backs who had better matchups, Zeke, Pollard, even Mixon. And so that ended up being the difference. So I'm in this world where I've had start your studs bite me in the ass, but I've also had start your studs not bite me in the ass.
You bench Adams, right?
Yeah.
So that helped out. That worked out.
Yeah. The Adams 0.9 helped out, but the Barkley benching of like 18 points didn't work out. So it was a tough semifinals because you're never going into your semifinals benching your first and second round players, but that's kind of where we were. So I took the L, but fortunately for you, Shashowt, you have moved on to the finals in that league as well. Congratulations. What, if any, do you have questions, concerns about your lineup heading into the championship week?
I mean, I'm not going to switch it to the screen. I'm just going to bring up some points. I'm playing against Mahomes, and I got Kyler Murray up against him right now. I think that's closer than people may think. Murray has like a flu-like symptoms type of a situation right now, so I got to keep an eye on that. So I still need to find a backup quarterback, and it's still going to be Baker Mayfield because he hasn't let me down when I had to put him in there yet. So I'm still riding off of that. So we'll see how that goes. Do you have any recommendations on any quarterbacks off the waiver wire for all the people out there and possibly me?
Yeah, if you want to get disgusting, there's a disgusting one, man. We don't like him. We hate him, but he's got the best matchup in all of the weeks. This pass defense is giving up so many yards, and you're finally seeing Olave get used the way he should. Rashid Shaheed with the balls, bro. It's one and only. It's Derek Carr against Tampa Bay.
Wow, who would have thought? Who would have thought in the finals you'd be even mentioning that name?
Dude, it's a disgusting year. I wish I could, I wish we had the bandwidth and our reach was so much wider because I want to talk to other people and be like, how chaotic was your season in navigating this fantasy football season? Because I can't think of a year where it was as chaotic as this year has been, in my opinion. It's the quarterbacks going down specifically, just so many quarterbacks going down or just lack of performance. But I don't know. I don't know what your thoughts are, but yeah, keep running down your lineups outside of the quarterback and let's see what we got.
CeeDee Lamb versus Mike Evans. So
it's a good one.
That's a close one because Mike Evans
wide
lives
receiver
in the end zone,
wide receiver 3 on the year or something like that.
CeeDee Lamb is going to do really well this game. I have some points to make later regarding why, but Mike Evans lives in the end zone and he's literally killing it this year, so I'm not counting him out at all. That's a close one. And then we got Waddle still in the lineup, or he has Waddle versus my Olave. I don't know how I feel about this new injury report situation for Olave. Is it his ankle or what's going on? Neck? Was it a neck?
It's a neck. It's not an ankle. If it was an ankle, I would probably be more concerned. But if it's a neck, but he still participated in practice, did he? Or was he DNP? I thought he was limited participant.
He was limited. It's ankle. I see ankle here, but I feel like I saw neck somewhere else. Or was it somebody else? Was Saquon neck? Saquon had neck.
I have like 5 guys with questionables, so I'm getting confused now which ones it was. But
do you remember in high school where people were like, that's a neck? And they would slap you on the back of your neck?
Oh, yeah. You guys used to do that. I didn't know about that. Wow, here's my lights just doing random thing. I didn't know about that in Nebraska, bro. That was like a Texas thing, I think, because I came to Texas and you guys were necking the shit out of me. And I was like, I don't know what this is.
We were in the hood. What do you want me to say? Like, we were doing all kinds of things that we normally never planned on doing. But after that, Olave, I'm rolling with him.
Against Tampa Bay? Yeah.
Right. Pass funnel of a defense.
He could have his best game of the season, and it would be the best time to have it.
Right. Right. And Waddle's very iffy right now. I feel like one more hit and he might die. He might actually be the first player to die in the NFL in a long time.
Let's hope not. But yeah, he's injury prone. He's injury prone as hell. He's injury prone.
It was just a joke. I'm sorry. Rachaad White is on my side here, going against New Orleans. We'll see. It's just pure volume at this point. So I'm not. It doesn't even matter who it is against Eckler. So we'll see. I do like the White matchup better than Eckler, but you never know. Denver's kind of trying to tank openly now, so we'll see how that plays out.
The shitty part about that is even if Eckler's been bad all year, when you're going against him in the finals, you're just like, oh, he could easily just have like a vintage Eckler game in the finals because that guy cares about fantasy, So wouldn't put it past him to actually do something stupid. But I like the Rachaad White advantage over Eckler for sure.
So far, pretty sure starts on my side. He has like a boom potential, but they're also like either old players or injured players or players that are losing their position as the number one on their team. So far, so good. And then this is where things get a little bit murky. But McBride is my tight end going up against Ingram, who's his tight end.
Who's been freaking good.
Who's been killing it. He's getting 10 to 14 targets like the last 3 or 4 weeks or something crazy like that. So we'll see.
Most consistent tight end, I think, in all of fantasy football all year, I would say.
Damn. Okay. So yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. Bijan on my side versus Kareem Hunt on his side. It's obviously Bijan.
Okay.
Even with it's the Jets.
Even with the weirdness, it's the Jets passing. You can't pass. You can't pass, so you have to run.
So you have to run. They'll expect that. I mean, if Kareem Hunt ends up rolling into the end zone, he might end up with 6.7 points. So I'm not too worried about that. We'll see. You never know, but we'll see tomorrow. That one's the first matchup of the week. That's the first player to play on our matchup. And then I got Ty Chandler going up against Drake London. So, Drake London's at Chicago, and the Chicago pass defense has been doing okay.
That's kind of a sus start. Does his bench show anybody else he could potentially flip for Drake London?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's Jaden Reed, who's injured, but might be a better start than London just because he gets all these weird gadgety plays. There's Zamir White, which is intriguing because if Jacobs doesn't play, then he's auto start. And he also picked up Khalil Herbert. I think that was more of an insurance in case Waddle doesn't play, which I don't think he will. He's gonna have to move. He's gonna have to move London up or use Reed instead of Waddle, and then he's got a flex spot open for either Khalil Herbert or Zamir White. So we'll see what he ends up doing.
God, that's some slim pickings, bro.
In the finals. How did you get here?
Yeah.
How did you get here?
Did he have somebody get hurt recently or something?
He's just been sneaking by, dude. This is one of the rarest case of people sneaking by I have ever seen in fantasy history. He had like a total of 1,200 points this year in 15 weeks or 14 weeks. That's less than 100 points a week. How did you get here?
Bro, the sneaking ends. This is when the sneaking stops.
You
can only sneak yourself so far.
Yeah, unless you're Jalen Hurts, then you just keep sneaking.
That's true. That's true. Then you just
that may stop too. We'll see.
Well, the NFL,
yeah, we'll see. But and then kickers, it's up for grabs. But I do have the best kicker in the game in Aubrey right now against Detroit. So a lot of opportunities. I'm going against Jason Sanders, which it's against Baltimore. They do have a good defense, but is the defense good enough to hold Tyreek Hill? Probably not. So there's gonna be a lot of opportunities. I see opportunities happening here. And then Buffalo defense against New England versus his Philadelphia defense against Arizona. I'm not sure what he sees there. I think he's just looking at the numbers. I wouldn't do that in the finals. I would not do that.
Yeah, I would think there's better options for sure.
There is.
I don't hate the Philadelphia defense just because after how bad they looked, I just have to. They're in a bounce back situation, right? They're not going to lose to Arizona. I don't think. Yeah. Crazier things have happened, but I think they're in a big bounce back spot where, it's week 17 of the championship. If you're going to roll your cards with like a team that's an elite team that, this is when you have to show up. I get the Eagles start, especially because Arizona outside of McBride, like everybody else is hurt. So their offense is kind of poop.
For sure.
But I still think there are better options. Like Jets, I think are a better option. Bears are a better option. Your Bills, great option. Browns, good option.
None of those are available right now. But I have hoarded 3 defenses just so I don't have to let him use them. So I currently have, like I mentioned, the Buffalo defense, and I have the Las Vegas defense against Indianapolis. I'm not too fond of that. I do like the trend of where Las Vegas is going, but I also note that they've had 4 touchdowns in the last 2 games. So it's a little bit inflated, and they did play against Kansas City and only allowed 21 points, but a lot of that was Mahomes' fault. So I don't know. That's not a bad start. I wouldn't. It's a good start. Out of all the choices that we have, that's not going to end your season if you end up starting Las Vegas defense here. I don't know what your take is.
Does Yahoo has negative for yards, right? Yards count there? No? Okay.
No.
Okay. Well, then so that changes a lot of things. So one thing I was thinking about with defense, especially in the championship game, right?
Right.
Like the last 3 or 4 weeks, I felt like I've started the premier matchup defense Buffalo against the Chargers, and they're putting up like 5. And you're just like, dude, like I could pick up a rando nobody defense and they could probably put up 5, a bad matchup and they could put up 5, right? So what I'm looking for now, especially in the championship, is I'm looking for a team that I think has the best chance to score a defensive touchdown. It's like a boom or bust defense. You're bust with your defense. Very rarely are you going to get negative points if you're at least starting the right matchup, right? So I'm playing for a defense that I think has the ability to turn the football over against who they're playing. And because turnovers are going to create the most points. And that's why for me, I do like the Vegas defense, because the Vegas defense is right now elite at swarming the football and turning the ball. Max Crosby sacks and deflected passes at the line and picks, and they're playing against Gardner Minshew, who that offense is good, but
he turns the ball
Minshew
over.
Also turns the ball over plenty of times, right? So
he does.
The idea that you could have like a 27-24 game and your defense can still get 10, 12 points because of the turnovers is what I'm banking on. And I feel like my idea before used to be, I want the best matchup because I want my defense to like hold them to 7 points. Well, great, 7 points, but you only had 2 sacks. Your output's pretty trash. So that's kind of where my head's at right now.
Okay. No, that's fair assessment for sure. I am playing, it's that time of the year, and I do like the weather matchups this week. This is going to be the last time. So it's looking like it may snow in Buffalo, and it is against New England, and they are kind of openly tanking too, but we'll see how we'll see what happens there. So I'm going with that, but I have hoarded Kansas City versus Cincinnati. At this point, I don't know. Cincinnati's kind of doing some weird things. I don't want to go against that offense right now. And then the last option, the number 1 defense in fantasy is actually available, but they're going against Miami. So
Ravens,
pick your poison there. You're going to allow Miami to play against you in the finals? Probably not.
I mean, what's our theme in our league? You got to be the ones. I mean, that would be about as ones could go. I don't recommend it. You're never starting a defense playing against Tyreek Hill. That's terrifying. So, no, I would refrain from that. They could have a good game, but I wouldn't do it. I love the Bears defense this week, obviously, as I'm starting them in our league against us. I love the Buffalo defense. I'm the same boat with weather, right? I'm hoping for a cold game in Chicago. I forget who they're playing, but it's a team that doesn't typically play in the cold or something, maybe Atlanta, right? Am I right? The Falcons are traveling to Chicago.
Is it?
Or no?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Okay.
You're right.
Okay. So I do like that. Dome team going outside. Heineke, Ritter, don't care who that is, right? Don't care. Yeah. And they run the ball. So like they don't have big, like high flying offense. You're going to have to hope they drive the ball and rush touchdowns in. So that's why I like that matchup a lot. But that's the same reasoning. Road team, bad weather, bad offense on the other side. So I think we have similar thought processes with defense.
Yeah, that's fair. So that's basically it as far as that matchup against him. I am fully expecting to win. I will not take it if I lose this matchup. It's just, how can I possibly lose this? It just can't happen unless Mahomes gets 40 points.
Yeah, see, it sucks. It sucks because the smart fantasy football analysts in us know that all year Mahomes hasn't done that. All year Eckler hasn't done that. But then the emotional football fans in us hear the name Eckler and Mahomes. They're playing them in the finals. And you're like, my God, like that's a little scary. So I think you have to trust the fact that they haven't been who they've been in the past. And your team, even if the name isn't Mahomes, it's like Baker Mayfield. Well, let's check the stats, bro. Check the fantasy points, bro. Doesn't matter. So the ugliness of the names, don't let that affect you emotionally, even though it's hard to say that because it will. Yeah. All right.
Big facts.
So done. You're winning that. You're winning that. Let's stamp that. Who's the guy you're playing?
Parakeet. That's my roommate from med school.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Sorry, Parakeet, you're losing. So it's been real. I don't know how you snuck your way there, but you have a uphill battle. As do I, which segues into our league. Shashowt, it's been no question your team's been the best team in the league all season, the most consistent team. Your team is insane. I mean, I don't know what the least amount of points your team put up all year was. You may know that offhand.
I think it was 80 something. I played against Shove. It may have been 86.7.
Classic Shove again, the 86.7 dub. Did you beat him or did he win that one?
He beat me. You beat me already, by the way, this year. So it was the 2 losses were against you and Shove it.
All right. But do we recall the score in our matchup?
I think it was one of the few times I think I scored less than 100 points twice, and I think it was both of those games. I'm not sure. That's what I remember telling myself to feel better at night.
Oh, here we go. Yep, I found it. So 124. You're close. 124 to 102.
Okay.
But I like this. I like that we played because we could look at our roster and see how different,
let's see who fucked up,
or the same it could be. Yeah. So Allen and Lamar. Obviously that's fine. Kyron, Mostert, Cook, Pacheco's. I still had Pacheco on my roster. Hill, obviously Hill things, Flowers, Debo. Man, this is before CD was cooking, huh?
Oh yeah, right before week 6.
Yeah. So this was before CD was cooking. So I caught CD early. Hollywood Brown was doing decent. Goddard went off. Adams classic just doing bullshit. Oh, okay, here we go. Defense and kicker, I think, was the difference.
You've been making some really solid defense and kicker moves. I have not. I haven't been struggling hardcore. We'll see. But this was also a bad Lamar day, which can happen any day, any time of the day, because they're so good.
You had your best player on a bye too, Rachaad White. So that didn't help me. That didn't help me. And I had Barkley, who was hurt. Zach Moss on the bench with 32.5. Jaleel and Laporta. Laporta for you though on the bench, and that segues into, let's talk about it, our matchup this week.
Let's do it.
All right. So quarterbacks still the same. It's Josh Allen versus Lamar. Mm-hmm. Allen is at home against New England. Yep. Lamar is at home against Miami. I guess from a matchup perspective, do you think there's an edge there?
Yeah, I do. I would rather have Allen than anything else this week, period. And that's because, first of all, I passed up on him to draft Lamar, and it's the biggest regret I've made all year.
Which won't matter if you win, though. If you win, that's complete moot point. But if you lose and you lose to me, who got Allen because you drafted Lamar, that would be kind of a full circle thing. Anyways,
for sure. So last time Allen played the Pats this year, he had 320 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, and 3 of them went to Diggs. So it was a classic Diggs game. He hasn't been doing Diggs type of things lately, but that's because they're focusing more on the run game, right? So that kind of gives me the edge a little bit because I have the guy that runs the ball for them. However, since week 8, the Pats are actually allowing 300 yards at least to quarterbacks on average, which is a huge
that's
plus.
A big number. Yeah.
That's a big number. 300 yards. It's guaranteed 12 points just from yards. Yep. It's a big deal. And then you also have rushing. He's like Allen scores a rushing touchdown guaranteed pretty much every game. Part of the reason why he's number one, that rushing touchdown just keeps adding up and up. And it's not a QB sneak each time. He's like actually getting rushing touchdowns. So from that perspective, and then the Pats, even though I have the edge as far as the game script goes for the Bills, I think they're going to revert back to their throwing ways after what I just told you about the 4 passing touchdowns last game. And the Patriots allowed the fifth fewest in rushing yards allowed this year, expecting a big game from throwing Allen. And I'm just praying to God he throws to baby Dalvin. That's pretty much.
He has been. Which he has been like it's been his like top target
for sure. Kincaid has been just weeded out of the system, and it's like Dalvin Cook's. I keep calling him Dalvin Cook. He is also Dalvin Cook, by the way. It's James Dalvin Cook. Baby Dalvin is getting all the looks as far as passing work and rushing work. It's just a unique situation where they have beaten this team before using what they're good at, which is throwing the ball with Allen. So I don't expect them to be a run heavy week this week unless they beat them down early. But let's see what Belichick has in store for his last final game in like in the big lights. So
it could be. Is this his final? That's not his final game. He plays next week. I'm stupid.
Final fantasy playoff game as a Patriot,
as a potential Patriot. Yeah, no, you're right. So the recent game script does favor you having James Cook to my Josh Allen, but you've already highlighted all the key points. Josh Allen's pretty matchup proof because he runs the football, and that rushing touchdown, he looks to run the football in the end zone when he's close. Not a tush push either, right? Like it's like 10, 5, 6 yards out. So I agree with you. Allen has just been really, really good from the quarterback position. Everything I could have expected and hoped for and more. So I do like the edge. I will say again, game script though, if that Baltimore game against Miami turns into this could be the future kind of playoff matchup type shootout, then I'm terrified for myself.
Also keep in mind, it's 2 MVP candidates going at it. So like Tyreek Hill's trying to get to, and we'll talk about Tyreek Hill when it comes up, but he's trying to win the MVP. He's been vocal about that. He's been vocal about getting 2,000 yards, and he only has 2 more games, and he's like 300 and something yards off. So he's got to have 150 yards this week to even make that possible. So I'm banking. He hasn't let me down yet as far as that goes. So it's a possibility. If Lamar wants to win the MVP, he's going to have to put up some numbers too. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So kicking it over to the running backs, we have Kyron Williams and Saquon Barkley on my end, who just happen to be playing each other. And you have Rachaad White and James Cook. Rachaad White's going up against the Saints, whose run defense has been pretty good, right? Above average. Yeah. James Cook against the Patriots, we already talked about it. And then your flex, you have another running back, I believe, right? You have Raheem Mostert on your flex right now. So you are deploying 3 running backs, but your juggernaut receivers are Tyreek Hill and CeeDee Lamb, so it really helps your case to be able to support 3 running backs in a half-point PPR structure.
I hate doing that, but
dude, I'm with you. I almost just did it for the sake of not doing it last week because I hated it too and it bit me in the ass. But dude, you have 3rd running back in the league, you have the 10th running back in the league, and you have what's Mostert, like 2nd or 1st. So
he's two.
Yeah, so you have 2, 3, and 10. You have 3 top 10 running backs. It's impossible for you to not start them. Matchup wise, Mostert at Baltimore, Cook versus New England, and Rachaad White against the Saints. So from a matchup perspective, not the best, but all those guys I think all year have proven.
Right.
Who cares? Who cares about the matchup?
Well, we're chasing volume, right? So I mean, there aren't very many people except for the 2 people on the other side of the matchup that are given that much volume. Like we're talking 20 touches a game for all these guys now. So we'll see. And then you got Barkley, who is literally the volume king outside of Derrick Henry. Well, now he's probably the volume king. And then you got Kyron Williams, who I have some fun stats for, because since week 12 when he came back for his little stint, he actually has played better. He leads the NFL with rushing attempts and snap share. He's number 2 behind Christian McCaffrey. So, I mean, anytime you're behind Christian McCaffrey in anything, you're basically better than everybody else. So, and he's had over 100 yards, whether it's rushing or passing total, every single game. Like what
every game since he's been back?
Yeah, every single game. So I don't know what more you could want, right? And the Giants are allowing the 3rd most rushing yards this year. I am expecting a 30 donut just posted up and just hoping for Puka draw plays for some reason and fucking Cup legacy game out of nowhere, which every single time he played last year was a legacy game. But we'll see, man. I can't hide away from this. Kyron Williams is probably the number 1 running back outside of CMC if you were to have a redraft right now. So
yeah, you're absolutely not wrong. I think Kyron's my saving grace. He's been probably by far my best player, even though he's been hurt on and off. I think if I have a guy that I feel as confident about outside of Josh Allen that he's going to produce, it's Kyron, because he just doesn't not produce because of the volume. And I think me having one guy, obviously Barkley has that volume, but we've seen shit games from Barkley. It's kind of how I feel like you probably feel about White and Mostert is you don't even have to worry. The volume is always there for those guys. Maybe Mostert a little bit less with Achane, but even then doesn't matter. 20 touchdowns, who cares? At least with Rachaad White. So I think the running back situation, pretty even, 2v3. I would say your guys have been way more consistent. I mean, Barkley could be insane, could be 5 because, it's DeVito, but that's the only thing. It's not DeVito this week. So I actually like that for me. Yeah. I like the fact that it's not DeVito. Yeah. It helps my case that it is Tyrod Taylor and that rushing upside, just kind of having that experience. He seems a lot more under control in the pocket, and I think that tends to help them just move the ball and get some first down. So I like that. Receivers, man, it's a no-brainer. It's you. Tyreek and CD, I think by far, if most people are looking at their fantasy teams this year and be like, what 2 receivers could I have stacked and done the best with? There's no other receiver.
Yeah, definitely lucked out there big time. I mean, I've always liked both of them. I never saw a world where I could have both of them, and it just happened. And the 2 leagues that I'm in the finals, I have CeeDee Lamb in both. And fun fact about CeeDee Lamb, he's 15 fantasy points away from being the number 1 receiver in fantasy, right? And we're talking about how big of a year Tyreek Hill's having. Well, CeeDee Lamb's getting in the end zone like all the time now, and it's not even, it's everywhere. It's at the goal line where Pollard should be getting these. They do a little freaking draw or a end around with CeeDee Lamb, and he actually gets in the end zone.
He's not like Pollard who fucking dies at the 1. So
right, like when he was tripping up at the 3, he like reached out and got in the end zone that one game and took me to the finals. So you know what I mean? Like he's got that dog in him where he can be a receiver, he can play in the slot, he can play outside, he can play as a running back, and he looks electric in every single fashion. So blessed to have him on my team. Just the catching system is a little weird. He still drops passes, is visibly obvious. That's why I can't name him. Like I'm not ecstatic and buying a CeeDee Lamb jersey right now, which would be odd as a Cowboys disliker. But I mean, if he drops 40 points this week and wins me both my leagues, like that's a no-brainer. I gotta buy it from Temu. I'll buy it from Temu, but I'm still buying it.
Yeah.
So Another last thing about CeeDee Lamb is he is playing the Lions, which is a huge mismatch because they haven't been able to stop anybody. And they've allowed 18 touchdowns through the air, which is 4th in the NFL as far as shittiness goes. So that's it. For me, like your running backs are going to do well. I project them to do well, and I think them to be solid. But for me to win, I need my guys to do what my guys do, right? Like out of White, Cook, and Mostert, one of them can have 2 points. That's fine. That's how it's been every year for me. Like out of these 3, one of them gets 2 points. The other 2 get 20 plus. Like two of them get 10 points. One of them gets 5. It always evens out to like 30 or 40. So I can handle that as long as Hill and Lamb have big days, which they do. They do that all the time. So as long as Hill has a good day and CeeDee Lamb has a good day, it should be good. But talk to me about Olave and Samuel over there on that side.
Yeah, Olave. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I do love those matchups there. Olave against Tampa Bay, giving up the most passing yards to opposing teams. So that's why I love that. And then Deebo Samuel gets Washington, which we've shit on the Commanders all season long. So I am just expecting to watch the Commanders game and see CMC and Deebo just running through like lanes where you can't even see the defense because it's just that free. So only fear is somehow Debo's not part of that offense, and the game is just over because they're already up like 40-0.
That's what I'm praying for. That's what I'm praying for all of your players so far. I need Allen to be out by halftime. I need Barkley can play. Fine, I'll take that hit or miss mentality. Kyren Williams needs to be done by halftime. Olave is going to get 12 targets minimum against his pass funnel of a defense. And Deebo Samuel against who's going to tackle this man, dude? He's going to run over this defense. And they're pissed. Every time Deebo's pissed, big numbers happen.
I'm not going to lie. That 49ers against okay, hold on. I take it back. I think the Commanders are starting Brissett. So that's does change. Yeah, that's good for me because their offense will be competent. I was going to say something where I'm like, this game could be like 63-0. But because Brissett's going to be there, maybe the Commanders' offense will be looking a little bit more, playable against. But I'm with you. I have home run hit. Debo's a home run hitter. Debo could get 40, but Debo could easily just get 5. So that's the boom bust in Debo. I think for you, Hill and Lamb, they're probably about as guarantees can get. Yes, with floors. What I do enjoy here is the fact that our tight ends are playing each other. Laporta is playing Fergie playing Laporta. And here's what I like about Ferguson. I think it's a Saturday night game, right?
Saturday night. All right. All right.
So we got a Saturday night game. And we've already talked about how the Detroit pass defense is absolutely atrocious. So my hope is somehow this game, Dak says 8s. You've been having a season, but I got to find my boy Fergie. And so everything that doesn't go to 8s needs to go to Fergie for me to have any chance, man. Any chance.
Dude, I could have 170 yards, but you could have 2 touchdowns and 40 yards. And we're looking like we have the same numbers, right?
Exactly, bro.
It's not impossible. And then Detroit, I think Dallas is going to come out with some fire. I think they're going to have to use Laporta. I haven't started Laporta any time except for 2 times. One time I started him against Showbit when I went dual tight end for some reason. I benched Rashad White because I hadn't bought in yet, and I went dual tight end, and Laporta just shit the bed. And then I started him when Hawkinson was out, and he did okay. So as you can see there, a lot of green as far as play time and targets, but they're not Hawkinson numbers, dude. Like, no. He's number 1 player in tight end. He's the number 1 tight end in fantasy right now. But to me, I would rather take 9 points a game every single game than a 28-point game and then a 5-point game, right? Like, I can't bank on him. But this week, playing the Cowboys, he's going to have to put up points.
He has to. They have to keep up. This is a big NFC showdown. And as crazy and good as the Cowboys defense is from like forcing turnovers and all that stuff, you can still move the ball against them. So I'm expecting this to absolutely be a shootout. It'll be fun to see the 2 tight ends going up against each other. I think both are kind of primed for some pretty good days. That, I guess, it's tough for me to ask advice from you, but that's why I'm honestly leaning starting Ferguson is because I want a piece of that Detroit defense to go against, and I want any opportunity to take anything away from CeeDee Lamb. And that's what's kind of leaning me to not start Goddard, even though last week Goddard came out and saw 9 targets, 7 catches for 71 yards. So looked really good.
I mean, even this game could be over by the 3rd quarter for the Eagles. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to push their way into victory, and then at the end of the day, Goddard could end up with 6 catches for 70 yards. I mean, that's not a solid play as far as, when you still have Ferguson, who's going up against a pass funnel of a defense who can still put up points on offense. So he's going to be playing till the end of the day. Like, it's just guaranteed. Dallas Goedert may not be utilized towards the later parts of the game. So this is another thing I want people listening to pay attention before we talk about defensive kickers. Look at matchups, right? Like, for example, look at our matchup and look at how many players play in the same game. You're dividing playtime with 60 minutes. Like, that's not a good situation. People don't really think about that. People don't really take that into consideration. I do. It's a huge, huge thing.
People, in fact, try to use the reverse and be like, I want to stack my guys and for more targets and all that. Right. They never see it the way you're pointing it out. You're absolutely right.
No, that's if you have more volume players and you play in different games, you're getting 120 minutes with high volume players versus 60 minutes with 2 high volume players who are going to share the workload. So if people are understanding what I'm saying, I'm not sure if you've even heard of this method before, but keep this in mind. If you're going with, CeeDee Lamb, and if you have Ferguson on the same team, but if you have Dallas Goedert too, then, situationally, use this method situationally. Like, for example, I have 3 guys in the same game. I have Lamar Jackson, Tyreek Hill, and Mostert. Right? So if I had a better option than Mostert, I would like to play somebody else because that's 3 players that are going to be sharing the time frame. Swikar, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm playing around with it where you're talking, and I wanted to give you the spotlight. So I'm still here.
Okay, no, yeah, but that's the point. Just be wary of too many mouths to feed in one game.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And again, everybody I always hear talk about, I want Lamb and Dak. I want the stack, or, having Dak and Pollard. Oh, that's so great. You get so many opportunities to the same offense, but every ball that Dak isn't throwing, that Pollard has to touch, that takes away from Dak throwing the ball. And if they're 2 different teams, they don't correlate at all. So right. You're absolutely right there. Let's jump into the kickers and the defense, because again, you made a good point. I have, in fact, actually, hold on real quick. The flex. Davante Adams. I need to talk about Davante Adams because right now he's starting, and you're probably wondering, why the hell am I starting this man? This man last week put up a measly 1 catch for 4 yards on 6 targets. Davante Adams, I love this man, but the amount of drops I've seen from him this year, Shashowt, that completely removed from the fact that like his offense sucks, his quarterback's not consistent. The amount of just easy ass drops that I've never witnessed this man make in his 8 years of playing football before this year with Rodgers. I'm over it. I'm over Davante Adams. I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe I'm here because in our lifetime he's probably a top 5 wide receiver maybe, and I am potentially over him. And next year I will have no part of this man. Unless obviously he goes to the Jets and Rodgers is his quarterback or something, but it's definitely been a disappointing year, which obviously segues into my decision between Davante Adams at Indianapolis or Rashee Rice versus Cincinnati.
Yeah, what are you doing? What are you doing here? Walk me through what you're doing here.
It's what I've told you. I told you to try to avoid doing is letting the name of the player and that emotion behind that dictate your decision making, and that's what I'm doing right now. Is I have. Like, think about this, right? So you bought Apple or you bought Tesla or you bought something that's very, very prized. You know its value is incredible, but you bought it at a time where the value wasn't high. Right. But you want to keep holding on to it because you believe that the value that it can reach it hasn't reached that value yet. And it's reached that value in the past before you bought it, before you had a part in it. You've seen it when other people have had it. But when you've gotten it, it hasn't quite reached that yet. But you're still bought in because you have this intrinsic value that you've placed on this object, this player, this stock that you feel like it can hit and reach. And Davante Adams, superstar behold, against Indianapolis inside against a pretty bad pass defense. Again, it's the 9 years of what I've seen of Davante Adams versus the 6 games of Rashee Rice with Patrick Mahomes, man. Okay. That's what I'm juggling between. Talk me off a ledge here.
I don't think you should do this. I know I'm playing against you, but you can't afford a 0.9 performance. It's not going to happen. Like, it's just not going to happen because that was a lot of multiple variables that just all went in a negative fashion, and they scored on defense and all this shit
twice in like 50 seconds.
And Adams wasn't necessary, right? So I get that. I totally understand this indoors, good weather. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, everything is in your favor because the Colts also like to put up points, and at home they're pretty good. So, and they're fighting for a playoff spot. So Adams has to keep up, and they're fighting for playoff spot too. So I like that, but I can't fathom going. It's not so much about Adams. It's more about Rice. Like, the dude is getting 12 targets a game. That is up there with the best. He's now the best receiver for one of the best quarterbacks of all time. And they're struggling, which means they're just going to continue to throw. And they're playing in Cincinnati at home, I believe. And Cincinnati has been no slouch. They're putting up 20 points plus, Browning's doing his thing on the offense, moving the chains. I think this is going to be a much closer game, and I think Rice is going to be a big part of it. So, from a nice floor perspective, it's Rice. From a big points perspective, it's also Rice, because I haven't seen anything from Adams. I'm an Adams owner myself, and he's the reason I didn't make it to the finals in my third league. So there may be some sort of bias here on my end to just hate him right now and never draft him again. Although he'll probably going to drop like a Evans type of a drop to like low 4th round or something, and I'm probably going to draft him again. But for this situation, what makes you want to bench Rice rather than start Adams?
It's everything. It's the fact that the what am I saying? The time of work, like the body of work for Davante Adams is so much superior than Rashee Rice's 6 weeks of awesomeness, right? Okay. So am I going to bank my championship matchup on a guy that I know has the potential to go out there and just completely dominate the football game because he's that guy? Or am I going to bank it on a young up-and-coming guy who I don't personally think is going to dominate because he's that guy, but he's going to have a good game because he's playing with the best quarterback of all time, and right now that guy really likes him. So it's an emotional decision. I don't condone starting Adams over Rice if we look at the numbers and we look at what they've done and we look at the stakes and everything you mentioned. The game's going to be close. They're going to have to keep throwing. They're in it. And we've seen the Raiders defense be so good. We've seen them run Josh Jacobs 35 times to where Adams becomes an afterthought and he's still smoking cigs and super excited after the game, right? And so, what once was where Adams was like, I need to have 65 targets a game to be part of this offense. He didn't care. He had 4 yards and he was smoking cigs or cigars. So he didn't care. And that's my biggest fear is he's not demanding that if we're winning. And right now they're winning despite that. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm rambling, man. It's going to be a whirlwind for me all week until we get there. I think I'm going to start Rashee Rice. But what's funny about that, Shashowt, is you mentioned one thing earlier. The games will not end at 1 p.m. if I start Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice will be a 425 guy, and he will be the guy that we hinge our championship hopes on. You making him do bad, me making him do good, depending on how the score goes. But that's where we're at. That's where we're at with Rashee Rice. Screw the flex. Let's jump into it. Kickers, obviously, I see you picked up Moody. Moody's been fantastic just because
he has not been fantastic. He's been like, let me just give you a solid floor and from extra points. Like that's what he's been. It's the matchup for me. It's just the matchup. It is.
They could score 10 touchdowns this game. They could put up a 70 spot and Moody gets 10. Yes.
I'm banking for 7 touchdowns and a field goal. That's what I'm banking for here.
Could happen. Definitely could happen. Obviously, I have Elliott, who's been fantastic all year. Hit or miss sometimes, but for the most part, been really good and been absolutely clutch. And we've talked about the defenses. You have Buffalo against New England, weather at home, bad offense. I got Chicago against Atlanta, weather at home, bad offense. So, man, that's going to be a good one. And the projections right now have you winning by 3 points. But I'd be lying if I didn't say that coming into this matchup, I was so scared about your team. But I have started to build confidence in my own team just because of the consistency they put on the board like the last 4 or 5 weeks.
For sure. And matchups too. It's relevant to talk about the matchups. I don't have terrible matchups, but it's like middle of the pack. It's all middle of the pack or really bad. There's nothing that's wide open except for CeeDee Lamb. That's about the only one that's really good. Tyreek Hill looks worse than it is because they just lost Kyle Hamilton. Ravens lost. So that opens up all kinds of shit that the Ravens are not ready for. And Tyreek Hill actually has the best wide receiver to cornerback matchup per CFF this week. So I need a big game.
Between your 2 receivers, I'm expecting 500 yards and 5 touchdowns.
So am I. That is my only hope because there's big games coming from your side. I just got to hope for, crazy bad games from Barkley to kind of even that out. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think my biggest ask is I hope neither of our teams somehow just comes in and puts up like 75 points. Like I know obviously both of us want to win. We're both competitive as hell, right? I feel like we're putting on a nicer front to the people than what we let on, and we want to win this obviously. But I don't want either of our teams to like come into the finals after having fantastic seasons and put up like a 70-point dud. I'm just gonna be like, dude, what was the point of all season? Yeah. What was the point of all season? So
I came to terms with this yesterday as soon as I or the day before yesterday, as soon as I won the matchup to get to the playoffs. I'm like, at the end of it all, like, to be real, I do want to win. Like, I want to win at everything I play. And when it comes to fantasy, I do a really good job of winning a lot of these situations. In our league, however, I haven't won as much as good as my teams have been over the time. And, and you've made it to the finals very often too. And not as much as I have, but you've capitalized off of the times you've been there, and we have the same amount of wins, right? So at the end of it all, I think it's both deserving. Whatever happens this game, it's fine. At the end of the day, I'll be upset if I lose for a couple of days, but what are you going to do? There is no other option. You can't go off with a tie and split the trophy, and you can't get another opportunity like tomorrow. You got to wait a whole freaking year for another opportunity. So I get it. I've come to terms. I have my best lineup up there. And, as you know, I make it a point to say this, but like, I am not one of those people that beats myself up over my decisions, because these are my decisions and I'm okay with it. So it is what it is. May the best team win, honestly. And your guys have been done really good. If I saw some random ass shit up there and then that guy went off for 16 points or something, that's one thing, right? But you got studs. I mean, I got studs. May the better team win. That's plain and simple.
No, absolutely, man. You couldn't have said it any better. And I agree. And just so the people understand kind of the history behind this league, you and I have been in this league since 2010, Shashowt. We are about to hit 2024. 14 years or so we've been in this league. In 14 years, my man, this is your 9th time being in the championship. That's LeBron numbers. 9 times in 14 seasons is insane. That's insane. You've won the chip 3 times, 5 second place finishes. For me, like you said, haven't been there as often. I've only been to the championship 5 times in the 14 years we've existed. Same thing though, 3 championships, and I have 2 second place finishes. But what's sweet about this is we've both had a drought. You haven't won since 2015. I haven't won since 2017. You and I have never played each other in the finals. We are the people in Showbit that are part of this podcast. I think the script writers saw this and are just having a blast. And I agree. I'm enjoying this script and I can't wait to see it play out. Obviously, good luck. It's been an awesome season. And I just hope we get a good matchup in the finals to make it worthwhile for how crazy this season's been. But that's it, man. That's all we got. Good luck to everybody else that's out there fighting for a championship. If you're in it, if you have questions, lineups, anything, hit us up on social media, Twitter @OnlyPlaybook, Instagram, TikTok @TheOnlyPlaybook. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like, hit the subscribe. It helps spread the word. And if you're listening, you can listen to us anywhere you get your podcast platform. I am Swikar. That is Shashowt. We are The Only Playbook. Have a fantastic championship week. See you guys.